All right, so we're live here. Rick Guerrero with another podcast episode. So I had the honor of speaking on a stage with Adam. Like a few weeks ago down in Tampa. We were both in the NAREP
Yep.
event. We were both speaking on social media, and man, the stuff you're doing on social media is insane. Blows me away. Like your activity, your brand, your YouTube, your Instagram. And we started chatting, and I remember vividly during the event, there was two sessions, right? There was a session where you and I were presenting, and there was a second session where somebody else was presenting. And I
Yep.
remember that second session, you were in the hallway, and there was like 8 agents around you, all asking questions, right?
Yeah.
Related to social media and like different platforms like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And then you and I started talking, and I was picking your brain on some of the stuff you were doing, and you were telling me about Ryan, and you're like, you got to meet Ryan. He's also doing some stuff at a high level. And Ryan, he brought you on, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself because you're probably better at introducing yourself than I am. I've just met you, but you connected with Ryan. We jumped on the call, started talking more social media strategies, and I think that we all see our real estate industry and social media similarly in the sense that most agents and lenders are doing it wrong.
Yeah. You see a lot of them doing it wrong for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Ryan and I have probably worked on this for 4 years back and forth, different markets. He's in Vegas, I'm in Tampa. He's also worked at it in Hawaii, but you know, we've worked with multiple agents. I mean, literally hundreds of agents around the country, even in Canada. And it's surprising how much you see, you know, they're using different tactics. There's a lot of different styles out there and strategies. So I don't know, man. You see a bunch that are just like, hey, just get started. And when they do that, it's great. They're consistent for months. And then they look back and they're like, man, I did all this work, but nothing really worked. And it's because they really had no idea what they were doing. They didn't have a plan or strategy. And, you know, and if anything, they had multiple people in their ears teaching them the wrong thing. So.
No, and I think that this is a great kind of pause moment to talk about, like, let's talk about your social media, just so we can let the viewers and the audience know that, like, what's your social media channels, what your followers, what your metrics are, just to kind of paint the picture.
Yeah, sure. So I'm in Tampa, Florida. Tampa, Florida Living is my YouTube and Instagram. We've got, I think it's 22,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we just crossed 50,000 in Instagram. And Instagram's, it's literally about to come up to 1 year old. So 50,000 in 1 year. Everything we do is organic. And, you know, and then we start, as we'll talk further on, we talk about a lot of different platforms, not just those two. And then Ryan's in multiple markets. I'll let him tell you.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I started with YouTube, my journey with YouTube about 5 years ago, and I could argue that I started in one of the most difficult markets in the United States, across the Pacific and everything like that. So I started with that. Also, I do a lot of like website, Google SEO, Google business type of stuff too. So I really took a deep dive into those years ago. I realized that it was a big, because, you know, higher intent on Google, right? Google owns YouTube, a lot higher intent if you're positioned in the right places with the right things and the right strategies. So I really went deep into Google business, Google SEO. So websites ranking on page 1 of Google for all the keyword terms you want. Now getting thousands of visitors to websites, generating leads that way too. So like Adam said, it's not just YouTube and Instagram. I do all the nerdy stuff, so to speak, right? All the back end stuff. I'll start speaking a different language, and Adam's just like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Rick, it's not just about like YouTube and Instagram and like the flashy stuff and like the camera work. I mean, that's a big part of it and understanding that. But doing the deep dive on the analytics and the back end is a big part of your success on any of these platforms. And I mean, Ryan, you know, kind of when we met early on years back, his SEO knowledge is kind of what kickstarted this for me, because I'm the most non-techie person, like didn't know how to use a camera, didn't know how to do anything. And a lot of the stuff I learned on blogging and SEO and ranking, I learned from Ryan years ago.
And what's interesting about that, like if there's anybody watching this or listening and you look up Adam living in Tampa, his YouTube channel, and you see his content, you're gonna be blown away. You're gonna be like, this guy is a pro. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's a master video editor. Like, his stuff is incredible, right? And then you talk to him and you realize, like, he's just a normal dude that might not know and I don't know, like if you edit your, I'm pretty sure you don't edit your videos yourself, because knowing you, like they're way amazing. Not that you're not, but like that takes a lot to learn, and a lot of bandwidth and time. And my read on you is like, you want to spend your bandwidth and time doing high converting activities, not editing videos. So I imagine you have somebody else doing that. But I think that's just a great example of a lot of these realtors. They think they have to be master video editors. They think they have to be great at all these things. And you're just focused on you tell us what you're focused. You're focused on the fundamental activities, and then outsource for the video editing. I'm sure Ryan is as well. So let's kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, number one, I think having a strategy, but then I also think this is something that you said on stage, is getting your reps in, man. I was never perfect. It was just having a strategy, knowing which direction you want to go, and then putting in those reps. And over time, the product that you'll see if you check out, our channel is exactly that. You're always trying to improve. You're always adding layers to your, either quality or quantity, one of the two, and you're trying to find that balance, sometime delivering both. But to go what you were saying, I mean, Ryan, if you want to jump into it a little bit about, having a direction, having a strategy.
Yeah, I mean, that's where actually it starts with the mindset, if you ask me.
Okay.
But going back to what you had said, though, Elena Cardone actually said this. She said, you can do anything, but you can't do everything, right? But going back to mindset, so if we wanted to even dial into any of these platforms, but if we were just going with YouTube, it's your mindset first. You got to understand that it's not instant gratification. I've coached over 1,000 agents probably at this point on YouTube specifically, helped them launch their channel. Some helped launch their channels. Some helped get their channels going back in the right direction, or some just taking their channels to the next level. And it always starts with the mindset of, especially if you're just getting started, this is not instant gratification. You've got to know that you are trying to build a long-term machine that is going to continue to generate leads for you on a consistent basis. As long as you are consistent with the content and you got great video performance, right? And you're listening to the right coaches. But that mindset is, this is a long-term play. I'm not going to make 5 YouTube videos and all of a sudden I'm going to start getting leads flowing in like I just signed up for some flex program or some crazy stuff. No, it's a long-term strategy. It's a long-term play. But if you stick with it, that's why we're on here today. If you stick with it, it will just be magical for your business. It can change your life. If you have that mindset of, I'm in this for the long haul.
And I look at it. Go ahead.
I'll say, Rick, think about it like this. Every realtor out there, even in your business, everybody knows a CRM, a database. You build your basics, but nobody just cranks on a database and it works day one. You have to add to it. You have to work it. You have to get those reps and you build on it. And then you nurture it long-term, knowing that it's going to give you back a certain ROI, right? If you're farming an area, same thing. So whenever people think of social media, it's not, oh, let me just throw something up and all of a sudden magically you're the best on there. It's, you have to farm it. You have to nurture your social media. You have to actively evolve and work at it long-term for it to work. And you have to go into it with that mindset of, I'm going to make this a long-term part of my marketing strategy.
So the way I see it, and I'm want to bounce this off of y'all, and I think you may see it similarly, is that this is not a magic bullet. This is not a get quick fast, right? A get rich quick thing. It's no different than cold calling, prospecting, door knocking. It's just another strategy, but you have to commit the same type of time and resources to this strategy in order for it to be effective. If Adam were to only dedicate 10 minutes a week to his YouTube channel, he'd probably get the same results if he dedicated 10 minutes a week calling his past database. Right?
I'm gonna fight back on that for a second though.
Please fight back.
It's not the magic bullet in the sense of like shoot one bullet and you win. But man, it's like if you shot 10 bullets at once. And what I mean by that is if I called 10 people in my database, that's 10 calls. If I shoot one video on YouTube, I could reach 10,000 people. So the exposure and the reach that you get on certain platforms, you cast a little bit wider of a net, like right now, my audience is nationwide. My social influence is like local. It's in Tampa, right? So that's kind of the beauty is that, and the difference I would say is that you're exposed to way more people on social media. That's like that newer age of marketing. The other concept is that there's a compound effect. So it's evergreen content is what we like to focus on. So you put one video out and it it starts to go. And then, 10 videos later, you've got all 10 continuing to work for you. And I have people that call me that's like, man, I've been watching you for 1 year. I know that your mom lives in this area because you talk about it. I know that your kids, love to go to these areas as a family and experience your city. Like, I know everything about it and I haven't visited yet. But guess what? When I come into your city, I'm working with you and your team because you know everything. And now I do too. But now I want you to hold my hand and help me find that home. So, you become that local resource and it really pays dividends. And that compounding effect is something you can't get in cold calling.
Well, but so you push back on me, let me push a little bit back because you're right. And I'm not saying you're wrong at all. But that if you post a video today and get in front of 10,000 people, that's very different than if a realtor that's listening to this for the first time decides to post a YouTube video today. They're not going to get in front of 10,000 people. Like you spent, how long did it take you to get to a place where your video would get in front of a large audience? Did it take you a week, 2 weeks, a month?
Yeah, so I got my first lead in 90 days.
Okay, 90 days.
Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's quicker. What I'll tell you is that Ryan and I actually did an experiment a little over a year ago. We both launched a home tour channel only, just see something very different than what we like to do with our, kind of local resource channel. And both of us, myself in Tampa and Ryan, we both got our first lead in the first 30 days. So awesome. I don't want to tell you that it can't happen, but it can happen. And,
well, but what I want to get at though is, like you were saying, the benefits of marketing on social media, you can expose yourself very broad, but that's not going to come from day one, and that's going to come from learning and trial and error, and making mistakes. And obviously, there's a lot of people that are watching this right now that are doing it and not getting your results because like they're listening. And you and I have talked about this offline. You had told me that there's in social media, everyone's a coach, right? Like there's everyone thinks they know what they're doing. Like I see people, realtors that might have like 1,000 followers on Instagram and they're selling a $700 content creation course to other realtors, right? So everyone's a coach. But what you've done, and I would argue that those that crush it prospecting phone calls, like you've put the reps in, you've learned, you've got the battle scars, and now from that you have the recipe to be successful. So now if you make a video today, you'll get in front of X amount of people, and your time frame to getting a lead is much shorter because of all the reps and experience that you've put in.
I'd agree with that.
And so what it sounds like with getting into strategy, right? So let's shift from, we got mindset, long-term play, what I'm trying to build. Now we're going into strategy, right? So what Adam was saying with the home tours channel, like, cause that came up. So when we start talking strategy and you talked about all these other coaches out there, when it comes to making these videos, what is the end goal that you are trying to achieve? Are you trying to make YouTube money, which I can tell you isn't that great, and you need a lot of views? You have to first surpass their plateaus, which in my eyes, I look at it as they challenge you to see if you are a true creator or not by getting to 1,000 subs and 4,000 hours of watch time. But understanding the strategy, going to the end goal. What am I making these videos for? Am I making these videos to make YouTube money? Am I making these videos to generate leads from my video efforts? What is the end goal? That's going to come to the strategy. The strategy for different niches or methods or whatever you want to call them. I know there are coaches out there that teach you to make these doom and gloom style videos because, and when I say doom and gloom, the title has negative context, the thumbnail has negative context, and it's fire and brimstone, everything's falling apart, here's this, that, and the other, right? Those clickbait are the ones, typically clickbait is what's chasing YouTube ad money, typically. Now, our channels, more so, our end goal is to generate leads. I can tell you firsthand, like the channels and how much money they make versus what generating a buyer or a seller can do and the commission from that, right? Versus how much ad money comes from a video. So that's our end goal, which then goes into our strategy of we want to be the main local resource on our channel. That's one strategy. And Adam talked about home tours. That's a totally different strategy. Some people are trying to combine the two, but then you lose channel identity with your strategy and setting the YouTube algorithm. So with the home tours channel, like Adam was saying, there was a brand new method. We done a ton of research on that. And I noticed that a lot of people just kind of stumbled into that strategy. it seemed to work because they noticed their videos were doing well. And they just kind of tried to rinse and repeat without actually knowing what they were even doing. So we dove into it, 6 months of research, launched our second channels, all home tours. And within 5 videos in 18 days, we had a cash buyer call us here in Vegas.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Strategy, mindset, strategy, game plan, right? And that's, like you said, so it's not necessarily every video is going to reach 10,000 people, right? And not every cold call is going to work either. But when you know, when you have the right mindset and you have the right strategy in place and you know what you're trying to achieve and you're listening to the right people to get you there, then you will start to generate leads.
So let's talk about, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Rick.
Oh, I was going to kind of segue into the right, listening to the right people. So in talking with Adam and watching him speak to all these realtors, I know Adam and I spoke, and I learned that he also coaches and teaches real estate agents how to crush it on social media, which is how this call sparked. And then he's like, you got to meet Ryan, he's also doing it. So let's talk about, for the people that are watching this, it's on Inman, and we're hoping to help a whole bunch of realtors and have several calls here. So for the purposes of this call, where can we best help realtors that are listening in and give them something tangible they could take from this call to do today to make an impact? And obviously the mindset and strategy is critical, because without that, like, you really don't know where you're going. But what would you say? Like, let's lay the roadmap for those that are listening on how to like take action today.
Yeah. Ryan, can I jump on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think actually even taking it a step backwards for a moment from where Ryan just went down that tunnel of YouTube, and I definitely want to bring it back to that. But when you talk about mindset and strategy and all that, right? My mindset was always big. And I talked to you before and on stage, it was, early on in my real estate career, I was making like 50,000, and my mentor said, hey, make your goals bigger. And he said 200,000. I was like, I don't know anybody that makes 200K back when homes were $200,000, right? And that year I worked backwards. I broke down the goal to what my daily habits needed to be. And that year I sold and made $212,000. After I did that, my mindset saw it achieved it. There's no way I go back to making 42,000 or whatever it was. So having that big mindset, once you see it and you understand it, like, and your mind expands there, it can't go back. So make sure your mindset's big enough to achieve whatever that goal is. In that same concept, when I'm thinking social media, there's some people that just want to do YouTube, just want to do Instagram, and that's okay if that meets your goal. But some of the things that Ryan and I teach our agents and what we actually implement in our own business is cast a bigger net. If anybody's ever heard about omni-channel presence, right? It's multiple channels of branding that basically bring in leads for the same cause with the same mindset. So my YouTube, my Instagram, blogs where I embed a YouTube video in the blog that is, YouTube and Google working together, and then Facebook gets some of it. And then, we start having Google Business set up. Like, all of these different channels start to work together and connect, and they all have the same resources and message that I'm getting across. Now it just creates this monster networking of marketing, all organic, for my business that, kind of the sky's the limit at that point. Not too many realtors are putting that puzzle together to where it just snowballs. And I think, Rick, you and I, we talked about it. A lot of times it's repurposing content, right? People don't realize the value of a newsletter. And if you're putting content out for YouTube, Instagram, podcasts, blog, and putting it into a newsletter for all of those followers, next thing you know, you look back and you got 20,000 people in all organic in a newsletter that love your stuff. So to me, that's mindset, that's strategy. But today I know you wanted to focus on this episode with YouTube. So
no. We can touch on YouTube. We can do YouTube on the next one. Honestly, like, we don't have to touch any platform. We can just talk about, like, hey, start focusing on doing these things, and we can go to a platform to the next call, or we can go into a platform, whatever y'all want. I just appreciate the conversation and agree, because I think, and no matter what area that you want to grow your business, whether it's cold call or whatever you do, like, it all aligns. It's all this. It's all kind of the same concept. You just got to commit and have a game plan and execute, right?
Yeah. So ultimately what Ryan and I always talk about when we try to give off to everybody is like, I bring my business back to those days where I went from 50,000 to 200,000 and everything was relationship based with my sphere of influence, right? You build those strong relationships, you build that, like trust and all that stuff with your clients. And then you nurture them even after the sale. And that is your gold mine. Well, same concept here. If I post something online, have you ever seen agents that post like just sold, just listed,
Every day.
here are my trophies. This is how much my team sold. Does anybody really, hate to say, but care about that you sold 100 million as a team? No. They think that's great, but next year it starts back at 0, and they're not going to sign with you because you did that. That's your trophy, and that's great. But we feel that if you can become a resource for somebody, if somebody's looking to move to my city, or they already live here and they're looking at, what other neighborhood fits our family best for this next move? If you can become a local resource for them by sharing community information, by sharing, like a quick template. We want to talk about a community, right? We're going to say, here are the builders, if it's new construction, or here are the type of homes you can see in this neighborhood. Here are the amenities within this community. Here are the things to do nearby in this suburb or area. Here's proximity to things that are important, like downtown or the beaches or whatever your city has. And then, of course, here's a school zone in case you have kiddos. You put that into a nice little template, and somebody's like, wow, they shot an entire video on this, and then they embedded that in a blog, and on and on and on. You're becoming a resource for them. And then you and I have talked about other things like Instagram. And if you start working with local businesses and collabing with them, feeding off of their local audience, and now you're sharing, and man, you're just in everything. I mean, you and I talked about how I interviewed the mayor to talk about the future of our city, right?
Yeah.
There's so many different ways you can approach this, but if you come with the mindset of, I want to be a resource, and I want to be a trusted resource and guide, and I'm putting out authentic, not flashy and not, whatever information, but actual valuable, resourceful, information, they're going to call you.
Well, and so there's something that my coach, one of my friends or coaches earlier in my life taught me. He said, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Right. And I think that's what you do so exceptionally well on your YouTube channel, is that like a lot of your content is showcasing the city for lots of different people. So for example, I saw one of your videos, top reasons for living in Tampa if you're like a health freak, right? And then you do like top reasons to living in Tampa if you're a foodie. Well, those are two different people.
Yeah.
But you dive in and give like some incredible information on both of those. So like, even if I were to vacation in Tampa, I'm going to go to your channel because you lay out like you're the mayor of the city, the digital mayor. You lay out everything there to do. And you do it in a way, like if people actually watch you and see what you do, like you do it in a way like you truly care. Like I would think that you were a foodie if I didn't know you. And you might be, I mean, I don't know. But I would think you're a health freak because every video you do, like you're super passionate about sharing that message and guiding others. And I think that is also a big component, is the fact that you can tell from your videos how much you care.
Yeah. I'll tell you two more things too. Two things about shooting video that people get nervous about is like they try to create some kind of persona that they want to like, they see somebody they like and they want to be more like that person on the camera. I would say be authentic, be yourself, and you're going to attract people that you actually want to work with. If you fake it, you're going to attract people you don't want to work with sometimes. So be yourself. I mean, I've had a beer on camera with my mortgage rep talking about, man, interest rates are a roller coaster right now. And after that, all of a sudden I had people coming in town. I was like, hey, before we look at homes, can we have a beer together? It's just things like that. So it just became fun. It's not always so serious. I know Ryan and his guy and his realtor partner in Vegas, they mess around on camera all the time, and people appreciate it, right?
Oh, I make fun of, he's from the UK. He's got like, I say I'm the Forrest Gump of video, and he's Harry Potter. Like when my content comes out, I make fun of him directly on camera, but it shows you like we're real. We don't script our like we're doing this together, and it's just natural. It's a natural thing. And just to touch on that point too, like the thing that happens the most with people when we coach them and they finally do it, they finally start just being themselves. They start to build more like and trust with somebody else, and somebody calls and just, I love how you are on camera. You're just authentic. because they started being themselves instead of trying to be an actor or an HGTV star and all this other stuff. So
no, I love it. And let me have, before you ask my question, how long, so the very first video you made, I imagine you were nervous, you were scared, like you've never done it before.
oh, mine looked like a hostage video.
but how long until you got comfortable?
Not too long, really, for me. I'm a high I and a high C on the disc, and just being, cameras don't bother me. I've made thousands and thousands of videos at this point, but just initially when I first started, it was more so I want this to be perfect. And if I could show you that video, everything went wrong. Camera got blurry and fuzzy. I was in my small apartment, my white wall in the back. Mike was cutting in and out. It was a 33-minute video, and it was terrible. But that first video showed me that, because that first video actually did really well over time. It ended up doing really well and being one of my top videos on my Hawaii channel before I unlisted it. But it was the information in the video, and it was how I talked about, or how I projected my information, being a kid raised in Hawaii, military brat, all that stuff. The information resonated with a lot of people, which gave me good video performance, which means it did well.
Man, I didn't know you're from Hawaii.
Not born, but I spent most of my life there. So that's
so you say it correctly.
Yeah, Hawaii. Yeah.
That's how I know that you're from Hawaii.
Yeah.
You say it correctly.
Yep.
Go ahead, Rick. I'm sorry, man.
No, I was just going to say, I'm going to circle back around with you later. I just hired a loan officer in Hawaii that is from there. And what I've learned is that the people that thrive and do well there are the ones that are from there, not the ones that move there.
I think I'm not trying to say anything about anybody, but I think a lot of the ones that move there aren't really in tune with a lot of the heritage and the traditions, and can't speak to a lot of it. They just try to say, it's paradise and let me show the beauty without really understanding, because like I said, I went through elementary, middle, high school there. I graduated nursing school there. I've spent my kids are from there. So like I said, it's home. That's where I spent most of my life. And I think that you're right, is a lot of people come there and they just think, oh, it's Hawaii. Home prices are high, so I'll make a lot of money and I'll just show a lot of the glamorous stuff of Hawaii without actually being able to be in tune with a lot of the tradition, the heritage, speak to the schools, the education
culture,
system, things like that, the culture, the diversity, all of that stuff too. So it does help to be there from there. Just like Adam from Tampa, right? Like, so it makes it easy, right, for him to be passionate about it. I'm here. I've seen it all grow and that type of stuff. Helps you just be more comfortable on camera, because you're not second guessing what you're saying. You're not trying to figure out if it's right or not. Yeah, it's natural. Like, I know all this. I can tell you the 8 major islands. There's actually 137 islands, but there's 8 major.
137 Hawaii? No shit. Wow.
Little, right? Little islands you can't go to. So I can just go on and on and on about it, right? You can't actually even go to 2 islands, right? So there's just a bunch of stuff. But when you start being more natural on camera and being from a place, definitely helps.
That's fantastic. Adam, I think you're going to say something.
Yeah.
I was going back to that initial. I'm always going to say something. Back when you said, "Hey, Ryan, how was it when you started?" Right?
Yes.
I'm the least techie person. Didn't even know what a camera was. We put on a GoPro. It was yellow video, and my first video was like that kind of popped. Was a pros and cons video. Had 70,000 views. And let me tell you, man, this thing is the worst video I've ever shot. Like, it was just yellow. I didn't have a light. I had a cheesy microphone that was $30. But it worked. The content was there. And a part of my big success was exactly what Ryan was just going through is, and what I felt comfortable with, by the way. The quality sucked, the audio, the visual, horrible, but the story was there. And the reason it took off was because people could relate to me with a story. My personal experience, and a little bit of fun too. That's what I love about it, is if you can get entertainment and education and you could blend it, that's a formula for success. I remember I was there talking about the pros and cons of living in Tampa. We talked about mosquitoes being a negative. And I was like, man, it looked like my wife played goalie for a dart club, because she welts up with all these, bites everywhere. And then like people just relate to those like fun stories. Ryan just went through the same thing. He went from Hawaii. Now he opened up a second channel in Vegas, because now he moved to Vegas. So
Great city,
what's kind of
great
cool,
market.
what's kind of cool about it is he actually still has 2 real estate teams running in 2 different states, right?
Wow.
Shooting videos in both. And what I love about it is now that he's in Vegas, what is his story? Because people are like, oh, well, I'm not from a certain area, but he gets to shoot the video from a different perspective. It's like, hey, I'm new here. I'm new in Vegas, and I want to share with you my new experiences coming from somebody who just moved here, good and bad. And if you don't sugarcoat that experience, you say, hey, these are the pros. This is so far what I've loved living here. And by the way, this is the negative side, like, you know, and if you don't sugarcoat that, but guess what? If you're okay with the negatives and the positives outweigh that, this might be a place you want to call home, and I can help you with that.
Well, that's why I'm glad you brought that up, though, because when we talked about me living in Hawaii most of my life and having been in Vegas now, I don't want people to think they have to be born and raised in a place to start, right? And so I'm glad you brought that up, because on the other side of it is you may be more relatable if you just move to a place, right? Like Vegas, which does have a lot of transplants. It's a melting pot, right? But when you just move to a place, own that too. On video, I say that. Look, I've only been here a couple years at this point, and this is what I'm seeing as far as what all these other videos that I watched and saw, and they said this. Well, this is my experience. So own it and don't hide it. If you just got to a place, or you've been there for a few years, don't try to hide it. Just own it, because other people want those new, fresh experiences too.
Yeah, I love that, because as Adam was telling your story, I was thinking to myself, like, I make content, I make videos. Like, if I were to move to a new market, I would pretend that I've lived there all my life. I wouldn't talk about being new there, because I never thought of the perspective of what Adam just shared. But that makes a ton of sense. Like, why lie? Be your authentic self and let them know you are new here, and these are the things I like. And that content will probably go a lot further than pretending you're from there.
Yeah.
Because you're being authentic and genuine, and people want to see real.
Mm-hmm.
And how easy is it to share, like, oh my God, guys, this might be a normal thing for locals, but I just found this out and I got to share it with you. This is, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that same thought process or conversation, I guess, we actually coach a lot of people that say, well, you're in Tampa, it's easy to have a successful, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Same thing with Vegas, same thing with Atlanta, whatever. What about me? I'm in a small market. I'm in a smaller area. And here's what I'll tell you is that we've coached people that are like, in age and all that too. We've coached somebody that's like damn near 80 years old. We've also coached somebody right now that is like the #1, like he owns the market in Alberta. And we're talking a podunk little city in Alberta. And he's like, man, should I go to Edmonton? Should I go to Calgary? I'm like, no, you're that person. He's like, well, I don't have the Tampa River Walk and I don't have like theme parks to talk about. I was like, well, why did you move there? Because he's not from there. Why did you move there? He's like, man, I didn't want the hustle and bustle of the city. I wanted to stretch out with some acreage. I wanted to be able to go fly fishing or whatever, and then skiing. And I said, that's your story, man. That's exactly what it is. People move there for exactly why you did. So explain that and share it, and share your experiences with kids and life and sports. And then, if you want to go day trip to those other areas, then that's your day trip. Like, the beauty is I can live in peace and tranquility. But then when I want to go see an Edmonton game, which who does, but if I wanted to, then he will. So yeah, that's kind of that version too, man. It doesn't matter the size of your market. Real estate's happening everywhere.
No, that's awesome feedback, and I love all of it. It aligns with my perspective, it aligns with my business. Now, my methods may be a little bit different, right? But I think the mindset and the strategy, it all just aligns. We're just doing different verticals of going after the business. And I feel like, what's the right vertical to crush it? Whatever one you're going to do. And to yours, it's so awesome because, like you said, you have the ability to maximize connections outside your city into other markets, into other states. So depending on what your goals are, like, there could be a lot of opportunity there.
Yep.
Oh, definitely is. Let's get real tangible with YouTube here for the last little bit.
Yes, let's do something.
Let's get real tangible, right? So
I have a YouTube channel. That's where this video is going to go on. And when I met Adam, I was embarrassed to say that I have a YouTube channel because I was afraid he's going to look me up and realize that I didn't do nothing what I was doing. So then the very next week, I started creating thumbnails in Canva just in case Adam looked me up. I didn't look like a total dipshit.
Yeah, I told him, I go, I can't know you and not help you, man. So we're gonna have to definitely dive in, do a deep dive. But yeah.
Yeah. So I'll treat this like a coaching session here for just a few minutes. First thing is, if you're just getting started in any market, it's understanding your market. Some people want to do home tours and they don't have the capacity or the capability to do that. We actually coach a lady in the DMV area up there, DC, Virginia, Maryland, right? All the houses are, from 1918, 1930. She's like, we don't have a ton of new construction and all that. You could still do a home tours style channel with that, but you then have to go through the hoops of, well, you're going to have to go through those hoops regardless, but typically builders are a little bit more friendly with it. But as far as a listing agent, and they're not, in their ego, is, can I film your home, put it on my channel, give you credit? And then you've got to build out that. So is that the best strategy for your market? Do you have a heavy relocation market, which would be beneficial for, like we said, Vegas and Tampa? But even in small markets, if you're in a very small market like Hot Springs, Arkansas, which I've coached before, or some very, very northern Arizona is not a huge market. It's actually a more a older demographic with basically Flagstaff and Sedona, right? So I've coached all around this country.
Wow.
If you have the smaller market, right, you own that and you become sort of that media company, as Adam likes to say, for that smaller market. I am the go-to resource. Everybody knows that guy that's like, hey, yeah, I got a handyman. Yeah, I got somebody who can paint your walls. I got somebody who can hang your TV. I got somebody who can do your backyard, right? You're that resource, right? You're the Angie's List, so to speak, right? You want to be that local resource for your market. And those are our two main methods. I've also niched down into military specifically because I was a military brat and I'm prior service myself. And I love helping military purchase, homes and help build generational wealth. So I've niched down into just strictly military as well. So knowing your market, do you have that? Are you military and can you relate? Or was your parents? Do you have a military base around you? What is your market is the first thing, because you can't just jump into one of these methods if you don't have it, right? If you don't have it. Now, that would be the first thing. The next thing I would say is research. Get on YouTube specifically, because that's what we're talking about. Do research in your market and see what is there. You're going to be able to start to recognize patterns of real estate agents. You're going to be able to see it right away. That's a news station. That's a real estate agent. That's an influencer just touring the area or whatever, right? You're going to start to find these really quick. But do your research and start to see what's working right away. Okay. Just like when you get your license and you're looking at brokerages, what do they do? How do they get their business? Right. In YouTube, it's what are they doing? How are they getting their views? How are they ranking for this term right here? That's going to be the next thing, is doing your research. Third thing, I hope whoever's watching has a notepad. Third thing is going to be keyword research. Okay. I typed in this. What are other keywords around this? Because the smallest thing from, let's just say, Tampa, Florida spelled out to, which the search volume is different with Tampa, Florida spelled out to Tampa, FL spelled out. That matters. It's a difference, right? There's a different thing there.
And
Okay?
Ryan, what are you using? What are you using for keyword research? Is there a platform? How do you find that volume?
Yep. About to get to that.
Great question.
Yep. Just about to get to that. He knows where I'm going, right? So that's, we talk all the time, so he knows, right? Finish my sentences. Just going back to the keyword thing. For instance, I can tell you right now on our home tours channel, if you type in Henderson NV, standing for Nevada, NV homes for sale, it's searched about 80,000 times a month. I probably have about 4 or 5 videos that rank for that term, searched about 80,000 times a month. Now, how do I know that? Going back to the tool, right? We use TubeBuddy. The other more popular one is vidIQ. I prefer TubeBuddy just because I've been using it for so long. And I think the interface is a lot easier to use than vidIQ. vidIQ to me is like SEMrush, and TubeBuddy is like Ubersuggest, if anybody knows what those are. Okay. Just easier to use interface, very beginner friendly as far as my opinion goes with TubeBuddy.
Yeah, I Googled TubeBuddy and vidIQ popped up. So I guess that's one of the top ones. So that's great.
They're competitors, but that is how we do a lot of our research when it comes to, because they will show you estimated monthly search volume. They'll show you how many videos are made based on those keywords. They're going to show you a lot. As your channel starts to build data, they're going to build you an opportunity score, and they're going to give you an opportunity score, is what I like to call it, for the keyword that you want to target based on your most channel performance and previous 5 video performance. They'll also give you a summary of the videos that are ranking in the top 20 for that keyword term and how you would stack up against them. So that is the tool that we're using to do everything that I just said in the first 3 things that I gave you, which was market, YouTube research, keyword research, understanding the keywords, understanding what people are actually typing in, right? Because it might not be what you think. Okay. And the title you want to put on your video also is probably not what they're typing in, right?
Yeah, I pulled up TubeBuddy here so people can see what it looks like.
Yeah,
website.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's one of our main go-to tools. Even when you're doing the SEO for your videos, they will help you dial it in and make sure, I call it making all the stars align, right? You want to make sure all the stars align, because if somebody types this in, I want to be that person there when it comes to your thumbnail, your title, your description, the tags that you're putting in, the location that you're putting in. A lot of people simply miss just adding their location to their videos. One little simple step too. So, yeah, that's probably the top 3 things I would do if you were just getting started. I just wanted to make sure we gave something tangible on this call for somebody watching. And that way they can actually go start doing those things.
No, and it's funny. I've never heard of TubeBuddy. I've never heard of that other one. And like right when you mentioned it, I Googled, I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, this could have helped me a lot. This could have saved me so much time. So
Yeah.
This 2 minutes of this call just helped me so much. So I thank you so much for sharing that. This TubeBuddy is awesome.
I think if to give people something, man, there's like definitely tips and tricks. You know, we can't obviously fit everything into this one recording, but what I would say, can we jump into a few tips and tricks real quick, Rick?
Yeah, please. Yeah, go for it.
All right. So
And
I think Ryan's
if you want me to pull anything up on the screen, let me know if you want me to show something.
Yeah, no worries. I think just mindset of, okay, let's get started on YouTube. You went through all the different steps that Ryan just gave us, and he started touching on it. But in my mind, and this is how I understand the platform of YouTube specifically, right? But it's like when you want your video to go out to a certain audience, your title, based on your keyword research, your title comes first, because that tells you what your video is about and who to put it in front of, right? So that's number 1 that you want to focus on. Then number 2 is your thumbnail. That's that little picture that comes up and it's kind of on your screen, and you click on it, then you can watch the video. Usually it comes in about 20 or so on your main browse screen. And, you know, it needs to stand out, but it needs to be catchy, because if yours doesn't stand out, you're just looking at 20 different or 30 and you're just scrolling, you're not going to click on it. So your title could be perfect, but if you don't click on the thumbnail, then nobody's watching it. So title will put you in front of an audience. Thumbnail standing out will make somebody want to click on it. And you can make it catchy with colors, by words that are intriguing or taps into emotion. And then of course, what it looks like, right? And then the third part is
Canva is a very easy place that can create thumbnails for you. There's a template for it. I was able to figure it out, and I'm not very bright. So that's I just wanted to mention that since you mentioned the thumbnails.
Yeah, I mean, some people like to go on to Fiverr and hire people, which they can eventually. I always like to learn how to do something, because then, you know, if you ever need to jump in, you can do it yourself. But I still always do my thumbnails. I know Ryan does too. I've never outsourced that. To me, It takes me about 15 minutes and we're good to go. But what I would say is the description is that third part, and that's the piece of the puzzle with description and tags and everything else that's in that description box when you're prepping your video for uploading. It's like making sure that all of it is SEO friendly. Like if you have a keyword, like think about this one. If you're saying, you know, moving to Las Vegas might be your keyword in your title, and that's what all your video is about. In that first line, you know, put like, why is everybody moving to Las Vegas in 2025? ? And then you say, well, there's a ton of reasons, and we're going to talk about that in this video, from the things to do, the places to live. And if you're moving to Las Vegas in 2025, you're definitely going to want to watch this. You're going to repeat it a couple different times, maybe 3 times, along with other important keywords that you're going to highlight in that video that support, you know, the overall video, right? So those are 3 important things to get you just started. A couple other different ideas, and again, it's good to understand the platform that you're working on. Instagram is very different than YouTube, very different than TikTok or anything else. YouTube, think about it like this. length of your video. Have you ever seen somebody that, and I know Rick, we talked about this on stage. Have you ever seen somebody that like posts a 4-minute video and it's great and crisp and it's good? Well, Instagram gives you hints to success. And on there, it'll tell you if your video's over 8 minutes, you can actually add, what's that?
You said Instagram.
Oh, my fault. YouTube, guys, YouTube.
I don't see any 4-minute videos on Instagram.
Yeah, sorry about that. We're talking YouTube again. So as you are adjusting things on the back end, especially once you're monetized, YouTube will tell you if your video is over 8 minutes, they can add a third mid-roll advertisement in that reel. And why is that important? Well, it's like if you know YouTube makes its money by placing ads, right? That's also how you make money. So if you make a 4-minute video and I make a 10-minute video, and YouTube can now put an extra ad making more money on my video than yours. If we are equal in quality, except mine's double the length, and you hold somebody on watching on YouTube, watching for 2 minutes, but I hold them on there for 4 or 5 minutes, whose video do you think is going to get pushed out more just by knowing that with the algorithm?
The person that has a longer video. Yeah, every time.
It's going to be mine. So I'm not saying that you need to make an hour-long video, but just know like you never really want to make a YouTube video under 8 minutes. And that's a quick version of why. Understanding the platform, right? You're always going to try to keep people on that video. So after you have your title, your thumbnail, your description, then the quality of that video matters. And it doesn't matter quality as far as like visual as much as it does the message that you're getting across, and that it matches the audience that you're trying to target, and that you're going to keep them watching. So those are a few things I would tell you, like, you know, tips and tricks up front. And then I'll give you one more. And we touched on this earlier. It was the negative doom and gloom videos. This is something that we're starting to see a lot of, is like people are chasing views, virality, right? Virality is good, but it can kill your channel if that's what you're chasing, right? Mm. If I do, let me give you an example. If I'm doing a local resource channel like I do in Tampa, and I'm doing Tampa videos, those are my keywords: living in Tampa, moving to Tampa. And then all of a sudden I do a living in Florida. I've actually done this, so I'm telling you from experience. The audience is bigger for Florida than it is for Tampa. I should expect more views. The problem is that I might have a lot of subscribers that come from that. And I've had leads that come in from Florida like, yeah, I'm going to be visiting Fort Lauderdale and I'm going to be visiting Jacksonville. You know, can you help us with real estate there? And I'm like, well, I could refer you out. But now I'm filtering lower quality leads than somebody that's actually visiting Tampa. The other downside to that video of Florida is that eventually when I do a living in Florida video and then I downsize to Tampa, if I've built up a bunch of Florida followers, when I do a Tampa video, if that person's not interested in Tampa because they're moving to Jacksonville, they might just get off of my video, and it's telling the algorithm that it's not important. That same concept works for negative videos. I'm not saying don't ever do them, but if you're chasing all these negative videos telling people why they shouldn't move to your city, one, that doesn't sound great. Number two, you know how many negative comments you're going to have because you're just beating your city up and inviting those people in, you know, so that when you do that positive, like these are the 10 best neighborhoods, they're like, those neighborhoods suck. I would never move there. You can't afford living there. You know, I don't know. Over time, it's just you're building the wrong audience. So just keep that mindset every time you're coming up with new content.
Well, I wanted to show your page on there just so people can see for themselves like how you've done it, and you're offering incredible advice. So, all right. Well, I know we're coming on our time, and I want to be respectful of y'all's time. Any other tips, tricks, anything else you'd like to share before we kind of wrap this puppy up?
You don't get me started because it'll be a long one. Yeah, we better just wrap it up. All
right. Yeah. So in wrapping up, let's talk about our net. We're going to do a couple more videos. Yeah. So it's funny because most of my guests for my podcast, my Inman podcast, I got to chase them down. And after meeting Adam, like, you guys chased me down, which was awesome, right? Because it was definitely wanted to get you guys on here, and we talked about some different things we can do to help the real estate community. And y'all were generous enough, and I'm super appreciative of this, to not just do one video, but offer to do a series to really help realtors in our industry take their social media game to the next level. So this was kind of the fundamental one. And then what we want to do one, maybe two, maybe even three, however much time you guys are willing to donate. And I think the next one we want to kind of do a deep dive where you show someone how to fix a channel, or what were your thoughts there?
I think that, we started this off kind of talking about mindset and the big blueprint, the blueprint being, it's good to be omni-channel, like have that omni-channel presence so that you're getting YouTube, Instagram. I mean, we have a lot to offer because we actually do this in our own business and help others, agents, around the country kind of do the same thing, the same formula. So I think it would be great if this is episode 1 talking about YouTube. Maybe we move on to the next one, which is maybe Instagram, and we continue on until we kind of cover them all. I think it would be awesome to just kind of maybe cap it off at the end with a recap to how do all of these different things come together to work at once for your business.
Cool. So let's do that. So the next one will be on Instagram. We'll get together. We'll try to film the next couple of weeks because right now it's the week before Christmas.
Yeah.
But in wrapping up, for those people that are watching this that want to immediately start following you, so I'm going to have Adam's link for YouTube, but I also discovered that y'all have your own private Facebook group. Can anybody join that?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yep.
I will have that link here as well. Real Estate Mastermind Agent Marketers. And what would an agent get from joining that group? Like, how would that help them?
You're immediately going to see just helpful people in there. You're going to see tips and tricks in there. We have in our private community, so that's like the Facebook side of things, but in our private community, we also have a ton of freebie trainings where I teach you how to make thumbnails, just a lot of free stuff. On the other side of things, I give away templates for channel banners, things like that too.
That's awesome. And to get, if somebody wanted to get into that private group that's watching,
it'll come from the Facebook group.
I was gonna say you gotta wait till episode 3 to get to the private.
Oh, we can do that too.
I don't know. But no, that's cool. And look, for those who are watching, I follow a lot of people on social media because I try to replicate and not do it myself. And Adam and Ryan have it together. There's a lot of coaches I've spoken to that tell you, okay, here's what you need to do, blah, 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 blah. And this is the first time I've ever had a call where you're like, all right, let's start with the mindset. Let's start with the goals. Because you're not trying to give me the cookie cutter way of doing it. You're trying to determine the best route for me. And I love that because every other coach I've talked to has given me the cookie cutter way.
With that exact, I mean, you said it perfectly right there. It's like, I can't tell you how many people, they're like, hey, this coach was great. They gave me the first 20 titles. And then after that, they're like, well, what do I do now? And they have no idea. And not only that, but algorithms evolve. You have to evolve with it. Over the 4 years, you have no idea how much Ryan and I have shifted and changed, and the thought process always there. So it's kind of that old teach someone how to fish and then, you're good to go. That same mentality, right? It's we like to help people understand what's going on, and then they can get creative however, and it'll follow their business however it goes. If market crashes, let's, knock on wood there. Market crashes, guess what? We can pivot our marketing instantly to investors. We can switch to what it's like flipping homes, REOs, foreclosures. If it keeps going where it is, great. So I love it. And yes, we like to teach people how to do stuff and explain it in depth, not just tell you do this and it'll work. So,
man, awesome. And what Adam's saying is totally true because I stood next to him for like an hour watching him talk to agents and learning everyone's individual strategy, challenges, model, market, client, etc., and give them all individual advice, which is why we have this call. So, gentlemen, thanks so much for being on. I'm going to put it in the comments how to follow you, the links, and looking forward to doing this again.
Awesome. Thanks,
Rick. Thank you for having us.
All right. Don't hang up yet.